Talk, and today I got a special interview segment with Michael Johnson, Johnsondrummer of YouTube fame.
Yeah, not yet.
No. Michael and I have been chatting back and forth for the last 6, 7, 8 months. We both kind of got into the YouTube thing kind of around the same time. Michael's channel kind of took off. Michael does a lot of gospel stuff, a lot of contemporary Christian stuff, church music with a good sample mix of today's pop. Right. So we kind of cross-pollinate a little bit. I do mostly all kind, all the crazy stuff I do. Because you're watching me on my channel. This is on my channel, right?
Yeah.
So, but Michael came down today to the studio. Michael lives on the other side of Florida, the West Coast. I live closer to the East Coast. And he came on over today, and we cut a drum track today. Yeah. And we did a drum cover that Michael's going to put on his channel. So tell us a little bit about the track you did today and what that project was for.
It's for Christian V. He has a YouTube channel. He plays bass. It's a Linkin Park. It's called Paper Cut. And, I haven't had time to get into church and everything, get in there and record. So we were just, I didn't even plan on coming to record today. We just come to hang out, have lunch. And then I brought up the conversation that, one day next week I was going to go record. And Earl was like, we can do it here. So I was like, cool. And then we did it. And it sounds really good. So be looking out for that. I think it's going to come out maybe next week or the week after. I'm not real sure when it's going to come out.
And this could come out the week before or the week after or 3 months from now. You never know when I may just keep this in my back pocket for something. You never know when.
Yeah, that's true. So I don't know when it's going to come out.
So I will say this about Michael. Michael, you nailed that track pretty fast. 2 takes, pretty much.
Yeah, 2 takes.
We set the cameras up pretty quick, and we did a quickie. But we do have a 2-camera shot on this. We're using my iPad and my DSLR today.
Yeah, he has the perfect setup here, just in case any of y'all. Well, none of y'all been here, but he has 3 drum sets, 1 million cymbals, 1 million drumsticks, a lot of heads. This is like the dream studio for drummers. And we set it up, recorded it fast. We were done in 10 minutes. 11 minutes, actually, because this camera only does 11 minutes.
Yeah, we did 2 takes.
And I think we were at the end of that. So we set up everything. It might have been 15 minutes with everything. So this is the perfect setup. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it definitely went kind of quickly.
Awesome. Yeah.
And this was an interesting track, a Linkin Park track, so it was really heavy. And it was multi-track. It wasn't like a 2-track mix. So I basically had to take the multi-tracks and kind of mix it. So I gave him 2 mixes with that. And I don't know if he's going to use my mixes or the ones he does on his own Logic, but and I know that the bass player is going to do his own thing with it too. So
he's gonna he got somebody to do the mixing for the collaboration video, but the mix that Earl did is going to be like a couple months down the road after the collaboration video is released. Is going to be Earl's mix with just the drums, but the collaboration video is going to be somebody else's mix that the bass player got to do the mix.
You might use mine for your cover though.
Right, definitely going to use Earl's for the cover.
Because we got the bass player on the track for the cover, which is not the bass player. So you're gonna have a couple versions of this coming out. So let me ask you a question, Michael. You do a lot of covers. Most of your material, does it come from the church services, or going to the church and recording your own stuff, or?
Well,
go ahead.
In the beginning, 90% to 95% was all live from the church, and then I ran out of songs because we don't learn a bunch of songs in a month. We learn maybe 2 or 3 in a month.
Right.
And I post them, and then you run out of music. So then I got to go to the church and record other music.
Right.
It could be other Christian music or today's hits music. It just depends on what's out or big right now.
So what's your hope for the channel? What are you hoping to do with your channel, and where are you hoping to take things in the future? I know you got a drone, you got other things. Are you looking to expand to more drum stuff, or are you looking to do some other things with the channel?
But yeah, YouTube is nothing but a hobby to me. It's one of the funnest hobbies that I have. Really the only hobby. That and technology. I love technology.
I think you were more fascinated with the tech stuff in the studio than you were with the drums and stuff.
Yeah.
Which,
No,
you know,
you have
I
a lot of
mean,
stuff.
I get a lot of older drummers come in here, friends of mine, and
Mm-hmm.
they just knew they oogle at all the stuff. But you're
Yeah.
like, nah, this stuff doesn't do anything for me. But you knew everything about my computer and
Yeah. Yeah.
how to move this to there and that.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot about the camera things and
Right.
you know when I need to get Final Cut, you know, and move into the 21st century, you know.
Yeah,
and
Final
really,
Cut's definitely recommended for
Yeah.
me anyway. But yeah, I just I'm going to continue the drum covers. That's really fun. I'm going to continue to try to grow my channel and just have fun with it. I mean, this ain't nothing but fun. I mean, I have a job. I'm not trying to make a living out of it. So it's just a hobby. It's fun.
So, are you hoping to do any other collaborations like this, you know, over the internet with recording for people?
Yeah, this is the second one that I've done. I've had about 3 or 4 people email me. This is the second one that I accepted. But yeah, definitely plan on doing more. It's just it's hard to find time because I don't have a studio in my house to do it.
Unlike me, you
Yeah.
can always send to me.
Yeah, send to him and he'll collab with you. He has all the equipment to do it. I have, you know, a laptop and an interface, but that's it. I don't have a drum set. That's the church's drum set that you see me playing on all the time.
Mics and all the stuff. that
All
goes
the
with-
mics is the church's. Everything but that snare. And but yeah, it's hard to collab. Like when you email me and ask me to do a collaboration, it's actually hard to pull off because I got to find time to do it.
Yeah, but you do have access to the church, and that's a big
Yeah,
deal.
I do.
And that's a good setup you got there going
Yeah,
on.
yeah, definitely.
So that's definitely helpful. Let me ask you a question about, you know, playing in church. Is that something that, I mean, you seem to get a lot of joy out of it. You know,
Yeah.
explain your motivation for playing in church and what you feel you communicate to the people in the congregation and the people on YouTube when you're playing your covers.
Yeah, playing in church. I played in bars, clubs, and venues before with a band that we were, you know, Christian, but maybe not really. But it was a complicated deal. We called ourselves Christian because we played at churches sometimes too, and they paid well. But you know, we went to venues, clubs, and did all the stuff you shouldn't do. And when you get off the stage, playing at a venue or a bar, the satisfaction, it's like you're done, and then the next band comes up, and then it's like there's no satisfaction to it at all. The satisfaction that I get out of playing in church is, you know, it's just that word. You get off the drums, and you're just satisfied because you know you probably touched 30 or 40 or however many people's their lives. You and the team, not just you, but the team, worship team. I don't know. It's very satisfying to play at church. I mean, any other feeling after I get off the drums is not the same unless I'm playing at a church.
Have you been able to ever play with, does your church bring in artists to play along with to lead worship at your church?
Yeah, we
sometimes.
do. I can't think of any names, but no big names that's going to stick. But yeah,
Nobody
some
on
artists.
TBN or anything, you know?
No.
But
None of those.
because I've had the opportunity to kind of play in a lot of worship services over my years. 'Cause I've been doing this for 40 years in churches. I mean, I started playing drums in churches when it was of the devil to play drums in churches.
I started out in the Church of God too.
They wanted to kick you out of the church playing drums in church.
Yeah.
But I've worked with some different people that have, you know, because, you know, I don't know if I'll use any of this, by the way, Michael. I have no idea if I will. But
Okay.
One of the things that I know about playing in church is there's a spiritual component to it,
Right.
and it's not just playing and learning parts,
No,
but
definitely.
it's seeing the service go somewhere.
Yeah.
The last church where I was at in town here, the pastor's wife was the singer, and she had a way of knowing when something was going to go somewhere else. So do you guys ever go outside of the music, go off the track, and go other places with the music, or do you always stay with the tracks? Because a lot of churches today, they kind of stay in the tracks.
Definitely. We call it runaway services, right?
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
that's a different way of putting
No, we
it.
definitely have those. Actually, when I was younger playing, because I started playing at this church since I was 11, we had them a lot more with churches where you get off the track and you it just goes and you're playing literally for 2 hours straight, sometimes 3. But ever since we started using actual clicks and tracks, it's been a lot less, but we still have those type of services to where we break away from the click track and metronome and play for like 3 hours while the church is, worshiping and doing what they praising God. And
those are some exciting times sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
Sometimes that's the most.
It's the best church services I mean, most definitely that.
And I think that's one of the things that's missing in a lot of church drummers' minds today, because most church drummers today are playing in the box of you're in the penalty box, as I like to call it. You put in the penalty box, and you got the click, and you're on the click, and you don't waver from the track that especially if you got tracks and stuff.
Yeah.
And that was the unique thing about this church I was at. We did an album, and everything, of course, stayed in the box. We couldn't go too far off the arranged track. We didn't.
Yeah.
But we would do nights of worship with this church, and we would stay out. We'd have a click going, but we would basically go. And sometimes it'd be like, let's go into the next tune, or sometimes it would, let's vamp on a section for a while while something was going on in the service. Either.
So did y'all have a guy talking in y'all's ear?
Yeah, we had an MD.
See, we don't.
But I've also had things where we use signals. Chorus,
so we use
and
signals.
and. Bridge or whatever, flip it over, let's do it again, we loop it again. So, I mean, I've done the signal thing too.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to play with this guy, and I don't know if this will get on the camera or not. I used to play with this guy, his name was Mike Dacey. And Mike Dacey's an interesting character in that Mike Dacey was one of the session musicians in the 60s in LA that was part of what they called the Wrecking Crew. So he played with Hal Blaine and Joe Osborne and all the guys that were doing the Beach Boys, the Association, Elvis Presley, Frank Sinatra. This guy played with everybody. But somewhere in the 70s, after his drugging and all the stuff that he did, he had an experience, him and his wife, and they came to the Lord. And he started playing some Christian music, and then he became a pastor of a church. And I think he just retired this past year at a church in Texas. And I did some ministry with him, and we would go on the road, and I actually did like 3 or 4 tours with him, and we would go into high schools and stuff, and he was big into spiritual warfare stuff.
Right.
And we would go into a high school, and we'd play something like La Bamba, and then all of a sudden in the middle of La Bamba, he'd just go into this little riff. He'd go, "Rat-tat-tat." I actually learned a lot about playing in the spirit with him, because you never knew where you were going. I mean, you were on that train ride all the time.
Yeah.
And
there was this. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, there was this. Since I've been there, we went through like 5 or 6 worship leaders, and there was this one guy named Luke Wren. Same thing, man. You would always have to be on your toes, because it could go anywhere. Like it'd be to slow song to quick. The cut be 2/4. It'd get there quick. And then we'd be there for 2 hours. I swear, I mean, that cut beat. Back when I was 15, 16, oh my goodness. We played it a lot at our church.
Yeah.
A lot. 2/4. A whole lot. Man.
Yeah. So you've seen, you know what I'm talking about then.
Oh yeah. Most definitely.
I mean, that's definitely been some part of my playing in the spirit type things. I've done the spiritual warfare thing. I've been on the stage with the big choirs and stuff, and the worship leader wants to go somewhere else and stuff, and cuts the band, and I've seen some great worship leaders. I've seen some guys that are really obnoxious. So I've worked with some really strange people too. I will tell you that in my day.
Yeah.
But it's pretty wild, But I know it's less and less today, and most of the big churches down here, they don't go off the grid, and most of the worship drummers down here, they don't really get into that space.
No, they don't.
They stay in that Hillsong space, and everything's learning the record,
Yeah.
But there was always a freedom of playing in the spirit when you could just kind of go off and go places.
Oh yeah.
And that's what I try to bring to my drum covers. It's that reacting to the music, even though you're playing along with a track that will not move. You still try to find something in the track that cause you to play something else.
Yeah. Same thing here. I mean, a lot of my covers, as me and Earl discussed, like I don't think I ever play any of my covers like the CD is. I think they're all my own. Like none of the church songs that I do are dead on with the CD. And I know, like Earl said, a lot of the church drummers, they play it perfect every time, and for some reason I'm just not into that. I don't know. It makes you feel like a drum machine, you know.
Yeah.
And drum machines have no souls, from what I'm reading right here.
You are correct. That's what's behind that camera. Is drum machines
Yeah.
have no souls. That's exactly it. Well, Michael, thank you for spending some time with me. I don't know how much of this I'm going to use or not use, but
that's fine.
I definitely had some fun today. Hopefully
Yeah,
we had some
good
fun.
time.
We'll give you a couple clips of Michael jamming in my studio, some drum-only stuff.
Yeah.
And look forward to the cover coming out. Thank
Thank you. Yes, sir.